about Doctor Who, and I haven't even seen Doctor Who.
And
So
good morning.
Why am I thinking Doctor? Doctor Who. Sorry.
Okay, now I have to lower that.
You know, it was.
Okay, we're still running a little high. That's okay though, I can fix that. How about now? Just about hitting the edge. How's that? Still getting a little into the red. That should be better. Okay, do we have anybody here yet? Nobody yet. That's okay. I'm expecting a raid in a minute. And I'm going to kind of wait a little bit until that happens because I want to start off the day with a bit of an announcement. So in the meantime, if there is anybody out there, come say hi. And there goes the dog. The dog must know it's time to start streaming. Unfortunately, I can't do the animal tax thing. She's a little too big for that. And she doesn't like to come up the stairs. She's 12 years old. Stairs are a problem. No, I didn't mean you, Morgan. My granddaughter is also 12 years old and was walking up the stairs when I said that. She doesn't have arthritis. So I'm going to keep checking this. I don't think I'm overdriving. Hopefully I'm not overdriving. That ought to be okay. Just touching the red every once in a while, but not really blasting it. So hopefully that's not too bad. So who do we have here so far? We have Secondhand Samurai, but that might be an auto host. I don't know, are you out there, Second? Yep, that's an auto host. That's cool too, though. That's okay. The less work I do at the beginning of the stream, the more likely I am to have my system survive to the end of the stream. So we can just hang out, and I can talk to myself for a few minutes. This will always make for an interesting opening if anybody catches the VOD after I post it. So what am I going to work on today? I have a few choices, and I think in the spirit of things I'm going to try to stick with the pardon me, I think I'm going to try to stick with the schedule and do a little bit more work on some of my ancestries and heritages, or races and heritages. That's nice low impact work as far as computer resources is concerned. And we'll see how far we can get. But as I said, before I get into that, I do have an announcement I'd like to make. Oh, by the way, I do need to tell Twitch that I would like it to be managing my channel right now. There we go. Okay, so we have that up. And let's see, if I were going to get started on this, people? No, I don't want people. I want creating your character. Put people away. Ancestry and heritage. I have to see how Dimmy's new changes work here. Playing a dwarf. I got playing a dwarf pretty much done, I believe. Oh, this is interesting. If I go through with the table of contents mode, I actually get... See, this is all new. These things are going to be getting changed, by the way. I'm going to have to redo those, but that'll be some other time. I could start up. Here comes the raid. Okay. I think what we're going to do is start here. Get ready. Oh, I like that as a raid call. That's cool. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody that is coming in and raiding. Isaac had a good stream, I hope. I'm doing pretty good. Let's see, did you get your... I saw you... the meme was cool. I was watching you for a while. The meme looked like fun. I guess you still have a little homework to do. Yes, we have entered in a state of breadiness. Yes, I just hope I'm not toast. So, Riku, how was your stream? How was your first ever stream this morning? Oh yeah, we don't all have war cries, and some of us have better ones than others. Oh, by the way, I know a lot of people were always saying that my voice was a little quiet. I finally, after much digging and searching, did indeed find an input mic level setting buried deep in the machine that was only set to 75%. So I've cranked that one up so that I now have control over the normal one, and I need to make sure I'm not overdriving. So I'm going to still be making a few adjustments along the way. If anybody hears any distortion or anything like that, please let me know. But I think I'm right about at the max where I want to be right about now. If anybody thinks it could be louder, let me know. And other than that, we can get started. Yeah, so Riku, how your stream was good, excellent. I'm curious, did you do it? Did you try it in English or did you go in Spanish? All right, there is a slight distortion. All right, I need to knock it down just a little then. Let's try that. That might be better. Yeah, I heard the distortion too. Apparently, as soon as it touches red, the distortion fires up, so I need to be careful here. But at least, like I said, at least now I have a control that I can find and work with. So let's go back and try again. You talked English in the stream, okay? Yeah, yeah. I know you were concerned about about accent or whatever, and a bunch of us were telling you don't be concerned. If you're more comfortable streaming in Spanish, you can do that too. But nobody is going to fault you for your English. So, however you'd like to do it. Siobhan says accent was fine. Yeah, it was the middle of the night. I'm sorry I didn't get up at 2 in the morning to watch your stream, but maybe one of these days I will catch it. Yeah, Rico must never take the red part because it peaks. Yeah, OBS's monitors are a little different from some of the other ones. But apparently, yeah, for OBS, if it touches red, it's distorting. So I will be careful. I also have the ability to just move my mic back and forth a little bit, so I should be able to fine-tune it. Still a lot distorted. Yeah, that's interesting. How about now? How about now? Let's see if that goes. How does it sound now? Am I popping over now? Okay, that's better. We'll try. We'll play with this for a while. I'm not going to kill myself working on this because in a couple of days I'm going to be doing this all over again with a whole new rig anyway. So, although I do want it, of course, to not be. I think it's a microphone distortion, not an OBS problem. If that's the case, then what I really need to do is take this approach. I'm going to have to kind of put things back where they were. Instead of adjusting the output level, let me adjust the input level. This was down to 75. I'm going to knock it down to 90, give or take. And let's see how that does. Is that any better? How's that? How we doing now? How we doing on levels? Now I'm just barely, I'm not even hitting the green. Let's bring that up a little bit, a little more, a little more. Now it seems like it's too quiet. Is it too quiet, or are you people okay hearing me? Tiller's, oh wait, it was my setting here. Everything is good now, everybody can hear me, I'm not drowned out by the music. I can turn the music down too if I have to. Alright, let's get started. I know there's a few people that have been up all night and will be heading off to bed, but before they do, I do want to make a brief announcement. Yesterday, Kahuna the Elder and I were, like I was in previous streams now, yeah, I still have a little bit of room to move things up though this time. So let me get this up a little higher and see. Let's try that. I have a little bit more leeway now. So anyway, Kahuna the Elder and I were plotting yesterday, and in response to some ideas from a couple of people, we put together a little project that we are hoping we can get members of the World Anvil community definitely involved in. We're starting out with the streamers, just not because we want to limit it to the streamers, but because we're not sure how big the response is going to be, and we don't want to end up overwhelming ourselves. But let me introduce you to the world of Synergasia, or Synergasia. What happens when you give multiple people the chance to create a whole new world? Let's find out. Alright, this is the home world for Synergasia, and I will, for anybody who wants to check it out on their own, there's the link to the home page, and I'm going to go through all of this and explain what it is we're doing. Alright, there's a map of the world. I'll get back to that in a little bit. Alright, but anyway, what happens? Let's find out. Check out the page We Need You to find out how to participate. Well, when you do click on We Need You, it brings up this little article. How would you like the opportunity to be responsible for the building of your own little corner or big corner of a world? How would you like to be doing this alongside other world Anvilites who are doing the same thing in the same world? That's what we've got in mind. Whatever your genre, whatever you want for a setting for creative writing or gaming, or just want to make your mark on a great collaborative effort, we invite you to become a Synergite and help us to shape our world. Here's our plan. Depending on the genre you need more coffee, hold on. Everybody hit those caffeinate buttons. Depending on the genre you select, we will assign you to a landmass in the world. Similar era genres will probably share landmasses, but you will have your own space. For example, Age of Sail, Victorian Steampunk, and Gothic Horror may all be in the same region. We're not limiting the genres. You want it, you'll get it, somewhere. We, the Synergists, and the Synergist is KahunaTheElder and I, will periodically release a prompt, just like summer camp, and ask you to define particular aspects of your piece of the world. Over time, your work will be added to the canon lore of Synergasia, available for reference in future articles by other people in your region. That way, in time, you'll get in on the Synergy game too. Yeah, stand mics are expensive. Someday I will go for a real mic and abandon the headset thing. But one thing at a time. I need a drawing tablet first. So anyway, continuing, we're not going to overload you. We're going to try one prompt a week to start out. So that shouldn't be too much. It's certainly not the one prompt a day level of summer camp. Eventually, we may even devise a game rule system to allow RPG play in this world. We've got some rough ideas, but if somebody wants to tackle that as their contribution, that'd be great too. You don't need to worry about styling or CSS stuff. The Synergists will be handling that. You focus on the world. Now, I will add that if you want to play around with CSS, anybody that has access to article level CSS is certainly welcome to do that. But other than that, again, we will take care of the global level CSS stuff. We're open to suggestions. We'll make whenever adjustments need to be made. If people need some custom stuff for certain section types or whatever, we'll certainly accommodate that. But we're trying to make it really more about the world building and less about the pictures. And if there's anything else, we'll figure it out as we go along. So if this sounds like it'll be interesting or fun, here's your first prompt. Write a brief meta article describing your piece of the world. And what we need to know is what genre best describes what you have in mind, what mood and theme do you plan to employ, what time period or development era describes your area, and by that we're talking about, is this like Neolithic Mesoamerican style? Is it Iron Age Conan the Barbarian, or I should say Bronze Age Conan the Barbarian, classical Roman Empire, Middle Age Euro fantasy, Victorian steampunk, postmodern apocalyptic, whatever your description is. What sort of geography do you need? Do you need to be on a coast? Do you want to be in the mountains? And that sort of thing. Are there any major conflicts that you will include? You don't have to have any, but if you know any, that might help us, again, place people down. And I'll explain what that means in a minute. There is no word minimum. Just make sure you're giving us enough to place you. Please try to keep the article under 1,500 words, but you're not going to be penalized for going over. It's not like we're going to cut them off and not read them. Use the generic template to create an article in your world. This is only for this first meta article, by the way, and it's how we're getting participants. Use the generic template to create an article in your world, publish it, make sure it's public, and then place a link to that article in a comment on this article, the one that I'm reading right now, no later than September 7th, 2020. We look forward to hearing you, so get out your hammers and anvils and synergize. Now, we've drawn the map of the world, and I should say Kahuna has drawn the map of the world, and we've defined, come on. All right, what various regions might exist in the world, and you'll notice each one of them now has a pin with a question mark. As we get submissions, we're going to start placing people around the world, and we have a little bit of everything. We have islands, we have big continents, we have cold regions, we have tropical regions. So, we can kind of cover almost anything and everything. And these region lines aren't set in stone. I mean, things might get adjusted or whatever. For those of you that care, there are even major tectonic lines. If you want to know if there's volcanoes around, this is where they're likely to be. So the map is here to play with. And again, in order to submit, and you'll see we had our first submission, just put a comment on this article with a link to your meta article so that we can read it and figure out where to go. If you're reading this, you'll see, again, please make sure that the article is public and that it's not a draft, that you've published it, all right, so that we can actually see it. When I went to bring this article up, I got the ever popular no access granted type thing. So we'll work that out with Rabbit Candy Void. But so again, we'd like to have as many as possible. Now, what'll happen once you get in, once you give us a submission, you will be made an author in the world of Synergasia, so that the future prompt responses will actually be articles created in this world. All right, you'll have author rights inside the world. Because we're using the author system, we're limited to 20. I think it's 27 authors, 26 or 27 authors in the world, including Kahuna and myself. So what we're going to do is there won't be more than 25 in the world. If we get more than 25 responses, we are going to create basically 2 clones. We'll create 2 clone worlds and split people up that way. We'll make. Yeah, what is multipass? Multipass is what happens when you. That's just the landing page right now. When somebody has an article that's either private or still draft form. The link is valid. It tells me that the link is a valid link. I'm just not allowed to read the article. So anyway, like I said, that's so it's not like we're limiting it to 25. If we get more than 25, there will be a Synergasia 1 and a Synergasia 2. So we'll have parallel worlds, and maybe someday that'll even mean something. But so we welcome anybody and everybody. This is an ongoing project. It's not a high. There's no prizes. There's no rewards. And again, we're going to keep it low key. We may even, pause the prompts once we get to things like World Ember, because everybody will be busy enough then. We're not trying to overrun or overwrite anything that World Anvil is doing, but in the meantime, it's something to do, and one small article a week shouldn't be terrible. Tiller is, guess you can always go ask Dimmy. Yeah, we are hoping that this will get a little bit of attention. We're actually hoping Dimmy will take. We have a couple of. Kahuna has a couple of things in mind, I think, for Dimmy specifically. So yeah, I mean, we're hoping, of course, to get to get World Anvil's blessing, whatever that means. But again, it's a right now it's a low-key project, so anybody that wants to get in on the ground floor, again, here's the link to the world in case you don't want to scroll back up and find it. You can just type !sin in the chat, and you should get that message up. And we welcome anyone and everyone. Oh, by the way, the meta article, if you want to use Janet's guide for a meta article, it was actually one of the summer camp homework prep things. You can do that. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. Again, the kind of we're really looking for the kind of information, to help us figure out where physically in the world to put you. What we're hoping is, and even the first article or two, once you're accepted, we may not have a hard place for you yet. We are hoping, though, by the end of September to have all of the participants physically placed on the map so you know exactly where you are. The first couple of prompts are going to still be very general purpose. There are a couple of other hints or suggestions too, by the way, on the homepage. There is one other article that you can see called the guardrails, and that does describe some of the information that that we're kind of setting up for the whole world. I'm sure people are going to have questions, by the way, and the first question that comes up is, well, if I'm a Conan Bronze Age world, what happens when people in the next area over come in with their AK-47s and air speeders and things? And the answer to that is that won't happen. We do have a plan for ways to isolate major time eras. There is some magic in this world, so how much that magic matters to your area is up to you. So we can do we can do almost anything there. Again, like I said, the first couple of prompts once we get going are probably going to have to do with how important are the gods in your world and how important is magic in your world. And with those last things, we'll be able to figure out who best fits next to who and alongside of who or whatever. So yes, we welcome any genre. If magic is not a thing, that's fine. We'll work with that. The only magic you might have to deal with might be like I said, the force field that's around your time era to keep you from taking your sky speeders, in to go hunting dinosaurs somewhere or something like that, into some other world. So yeah, the guardrail article is password. I'll get Kahuna to fix that. He originally set it up that way while we were reviewing it. I guess he forgot to take the password off. All right, so we will make sure that gets taken care of. My apologies for that. Actually, I can tell you all right now. Actually, the password is. Try that. And that might let you all in. It's supposed to be a public article anyway, so I'm not worried about opening it up. Yeah, Isaac already guessed it. Oh, we have a black hat hacker over here, or a white hat hacker. So yeah, again, we'll with our main goal, Kahuna and our main goal is going to be to make sure that there is no unfortunate crossover, shall we say, between the various regions. And when I say unfortunate, I mean there might be times again when you're willing or interested in collaborating with your neighbor to set certain things up. There might be times though when again there will be certainly there will be situations where you can't be worried about the impact of some other whole technology or whatever, and we don't want you to be worried about that. So we will worry about keeping things apart that need to be apart, and letting you folks decide what can be or needs to be together. Again, this is going to be all our world. It's not mine. It's not Kahuna's. It will be everybody's that's part of it, and it'll be fun to see what we get, what comes out of it. It'll be an interesting little. It's not restricted to humans either. You have as many fantasy races as you like. It's again, you are free to define what you think your piece of the world needs to look like or wants to look like. DM Stretch, where in the world to put me? You're in the UK. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, yeah. I would say the one thing about sci-fi. I'm reading back up in the chat a little bit here. Isaac, you said to play with more urban and techie stuff. I'm not sure if again, anybody that does go for far, for far future. Obviously, this is a world, so we'll have to figure out. We will have to figure out maybe together how to deal with things like space travel. For one thing, space travel can't be a way to again to go up into orbit and then drop in on somebody else's time zone. If anybody, just to get an idea, by the way, of what we're thinking for the time zones, or for the, when I say time zones, I don't mean obviously what, like our world time zones. I mean time eras. There is an RPG system out there called Torg, and if there's anyone out there that follows the Great GM on YouTube, about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, he did a 10-minute review on this game system called Torg. Take a look at it, and you'll get an idea for what we have in mind for the other role-playing game. But you'll get an idea for what we have in mind for handling multiple time eras on the same world, because that game, the game he reviews, deals with exactly that. So we have a basis, we have an idea. I don't know that we're going to use exactly that game system, but and again, this isn't only for role players. You want to build a piece of a little piece of a world to experiment with for your own creative writing, novels or short stories. That's fine too. Again, if you need to be completely isolated from the rest of the outside world, that can be arranged. If you want a little bit of interaction, and let's not just call it interaction, but even idea sharing with somebody else. You're building a city, but it needs to trade with somebody. Well, maybe somebody else needs the same thing, so together you end up solving your problems. It can be whatever you want it to be or need it to be. Nobody will come in and change what you decide needs to be in your piece of the world. But we will be encouraging, of course, cooperation and synergy. But the bottom line is, once you get an area, it's your area. The important aspects of what you design will go into a canon document for your region that other people can look at and refer to. So again, if they need to explain in their article, in one of their articles, how they're trading with a neighbor, the canon will tell them what the neighbor has and what the neighbor can do and all that kind of stuff. And it's going to take a while to get all of this going, of course. So again, anybody and everybody, we hope to have you all come in and join us, and we'll see what happens. And with that, I am going to take a pause. You can also, by the way, find links to this. Kahuna and I have been spilling them around in a few places, and he'll be talking it up on his chats, on his streams. Anybody has any more questions, in fact, Kahuna Quiet will be running all day today and all week. So, does anybody have any questions now? Yes, I guess that's the first important question. Will we allow Q to bring Megacorpolis into this world? We'll have to build some big firewalls around that if we do. Isaac Tom looks like they've got a few good ideas. Have some fun with high magic tech, yeah. And again, we mentioned that there's some magic in the world, but if your world doesn't have magic, then you can be a magic dead zone. That's fine. And again, the prompt a week, that's really, that's up in the air. We're not committed to it, and I can hear myself overdriving once in a while. That's because I'm talking louder. It's up in the air, and again, there's no prizes or no rewards. So if you miss a prompt or have to play catch up or whatever, you're not going to get kicked off the world. You're not going to, you know, this is as low key as we can possibly make it. There are a lot of people after summer camp that said they missed having, just the idea of somebody giving them prompts to, to tickle their creativity about what to write about. So why didn't you remake the username from the world name? And Kahuna is a sage; he could do so. Yes, he could. And we can talk to him about that too, I guess. Or remove the username. Yeah, he could. I guess he could. We just kind of put this up quickly. So yeah, that's something that might change. So I'll talk to him about that. Does anybody else have any other questions? That's true. Yeah, if we do it, it'll have to be very quickly. We're still kind of putting together the ground rules ourselves this week, but we wanted to give people a couple of weeks to think about it and get things in. And by the way, that September 7th date, that's not a hard date either. So is fun mandatory? I'm going to answer yes, it is, but you can define what fun is for you. How's that? And like I said, that September 7th date, it's not that it's hard, that's not a hard date. If you submit something on September 8th, we're not going to tell you, sorry, you missed the deadline. But we needed to put some sort of date there to give people a target, because we need to start thinking about where people are physically going to get placed on the map. So you got 2 weeks, and again, it doesn't have to be we're not grading, especially not the meta articles. We're not grading them. We're asking for the input that we need to put you on the map, or to start thinking about how to put people on the map and what groups of people to put together on the map. That's the main reason for it. And also, the other thing is just your submission at all tells us you're interested. Because that's the other thing we need to know. We need more than anything else right now is a count of the number of people interested. As I said, if it's under 25, we'll all be in one world. If it's more than that, if it's more than 25, then we might have to split it up into 2 worlds right from the beginning, and that would still leave room to grow. Other people could come in over time because we'd have open areas. If all of a sudden we get 100 people coming in, then I think the first thing we'll need to do is start thinking about getting another 1 or 2 synergists together to keep track of all of it. But we'll worry about that problem if it happens. Until there's a sage. Yeah, sage. Sage is actually a level. It's the level above Grandmaster. It's pricey, but it allows you to whitelist things. You can white label things, I should say. You can basically control the branding of your world for marketing purposes. So again, hopefully everybody will come and join us. It should be fun, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, stick to Journey, by the way, again, because anybody, by the way, journeymen, even freemen, by the way, can be authors. We can set up freemen as authors in this world, so there is no guild membership requirement. Sage is not pricey, deity is pricey. Well, that's true too. Yeah, I mean, they get really pricey. But yeah, like I said, there is no guild requirement. Freemen are fine. As long as you can comment on if for some reason, and I don't think this is an issue, if for some reason Freeman cannot comment on this article, then just get in touch with us, and Free woman here. Okay, yeah, free person. um, if you can't, like, I don't know what. I think all you need to do is be subscribed to be able to comment on articles. I think that's even not a guild requirement. But if anything does pop up that causes you to have trouble joining us, let us know, because I do know that we do know, and we did check, that we can make the ungilded as the ungilded free folk. Okay. We can make the ungilded free folk authors in the world, and once you're an author in the world, you can write articles in the world. All right, so that's there, and like I said, you don't have to worry about CSS or any of the other stuff that the higher guild levels can do. That's not what we're trying to focus this on. And where it goes from there, we'll let the community itself decide. Once we have a world community, that world community will start contributing maybe to some of the other rules and guidelines and tips and tricks and everything else. So let's see. I've spent 40 minutes talking about this. That should be enough to get it off the starting line. Let's see if we can get some other work done. Yes, free folk can comment. Okay. All right, so that shouldn't be a problem. Like I said, just make sure your article can be in any world you have, whether if you had a special summer camp world or whatever. As long as, I guess, the world probably has to be public. The article has to be public, and the article has to be published. All right, for us to be able to read it. All right, so with that, have at it, and hope to see you all there. I am going to shut down these extra windows now. All right, so sometime in the future, these little pins will have names in them instead of just being question marks and things like Region 20. And this looks like the Hunger Games map right now, right? Oh, I see. Kahuna's starting to play already. Your Region 4 is fairly well isolated, sits between two major mountain ranges. Oh yeah, he is going to start at least putting in, I think he did say he was going to start doing that, just to identify what we envision at least the biomes to be in the regions. But again, you tell us what you need, and we'll make sure you get a region that fits your needs. All right, you don't have to fit one of these regions if it's not quite perfect. We can always adjust the. We have a volunteer as tribute. What about an area that is outside the material plane? Oh, you're going to make things complicated. So yeah, anyway, like I said, Kahuna is working on this. That's probably what he's going to be working on today, by the way, in his Kahuna Quiet. For those of you who don't know what Kahuna Quiet is, for those of you that aren't sleeping during the next 12 hours of stream time, Mrs. Kahuna is a middle school teacher. School season has started for them. She teaches remotely from home because of COVID. So what Kahuna has done was taken his office and basically used a big green screen to split the office down the middle. And Mrs. Kahuna teaches class during the day from one side of the room, and Mr. Kahuna sits quietly at his computer streaming all day on the other side. He doesn't do any talking, but he's basically he considers himself the waiting room for all of the other streamers. As other ASC streamers come up, he will raid them, and then he'll just pop himself back up live again. But if anybody wants to stop in and say hi and just chat with him, he will chat in the chat window. He does have some music playing, and he'll actually, if there are streams going on, he'll have the stream up in a little corner in the background too, so that you can see who's there and who's next. He's kind of like I guess a part waiting room, part traffic cop for the Anvilite Streamer Core, at least during the U.S. daytime. So, again, anybody is welcome to stop in there with questions or comments or suggestions. We are still very much in the suggestion taking phase for this whole project. So we'll be there all day. I'll probably be there a good part of the day with him. All right, let's get on to something real work today. Pardon me. I think we're going to do a non-caffeine. Hydrate, maybe get a little stuff going. Have people been doing the pollinators flash challenge for August? Has anybody out there done that? And if so, does anybody have an article that they'd like to showcase? And this is where the crickets come in. I need to get a cricket sound effect that I can pop up when I need to. Isaac, I did. Yeah, I know we were talking about it in your stream as well. Siobhan, yours is just starting. I'll tell you, I submitted one that really only very lightly touches on the on the actual pollinator issue. When I first saw the prompt, my response was, and this is the kind of thinking out loud that everybody I think could benefit from. When I first saw the prompt, I looked at it and I said, okay, I know, that the pollinators in my world are pretty much the conventional ones that we're used to in this world. All right, and I'm doing an RPG setting, so do I really need to write about bees and butterflies and and spend the time to do all of that? So my first thought was, yeah, maybe I'll write an article just to participate, but it'd be a throwaway article as far as my world is concerned. And then I stopped to think about it, and I started to think about how the rest of my world, how the important parts of the world work. And in my world, all right, the first thing, the world itself was created by one deity who does nothing in my universe except create worlds. And what he creates is basically the skeleton of the world. He creates the land masses, and the mountains are there, the rocks are there, the oceans are there. He shapes the various elements into a world, and then he leaves. He goes off somewhere else and he does it again. So this is not a deity that that has worshippers or followers anywhere on the world. He just does his thing and goes. But then there are other races of super beings that follow after him, and they kind of take over. They'll find one of his creations and they'll kind of take it over. So the first guy there, he's the one that created all of the plants and all of the common animals, and basically everything except the intelligent creatures initially. All right. So after he did that, though, his partner decided that there needs to be something there to help make sure that everything keeps working right and that everything stays beautiful and is nice and is wonderful. So his partner created the Fae. And the Fae are, there's all kinds. All right, there's your basic, from basic mythology, you got your dryads and naiads and various others. But there's about a dozen or more different species, shall we say, of Fae, each one responsible for different aspects of nature, of either animal life or plant life. And they exist to partly to tend nature and make sure things keep going and growing and all that kind of wonderful stuff. and also to appreciate it and revel in it and enjoy that beauty. The Fae are immortal when it comes to as far as natural lifespan is concerned. But they do, or at least the major Fae are immortal. They can be killed, however, and they do not reproduce. So as they get killed off, which would only be by some form of violence, the Fae decrease in the world. And if the Fae decrease in the world, that means the creatures responsible for making sure there's always enough bees in this meadow to make sure the flowers bloom, or that there's enough, whatever else, anywhere else. If the Fae aren't there to do their jobs, then nature could start to suffer. And when you amplify that with the fact that you have humans and other things coming into areas and, chopping down trees and clearing fields and building towns and cities, that only aggravates the problem. So I ended up turning my article about pollinators into an article about, that spends at least as much time talking about the plight of the Fae and how they're starting to disappear, and how if they did disappear, nature would be drastically impacted, and that nature being impacted is something that that's where I kind of went back again to the the pollinator issue. So I kind of worked around the pollinator issue to create something that will actually be a major conflict point in my whole RPG world. At some point, do my parties actually have to deal with the fact that the Fae are starting to disappear, and where they disappear, bad things happen, and what can they do about it? So it turned actually into something that was interesting and useful. Let's see, DM Stretch, liking the music, not taking part in the pollination article, not really important. Yeah, like I said, the pollination itself is not at all important in my world, not specifically. But the fact that, just like disappearing bees in our world is an important thing, and yes, that's kind of what I'm playing off of here. The reason the bees are disappearing in Cartyrion is because the Fae who take care of them are disappearing. And they're not just disappearing. I mean, they're disappearing with cause, shall we say? A lot of them were killed in the big 2,000 year ago, all world encompassing war that started with the gods and spilled down onto the earth or onto the planet. But even now, humans are moving into areas, and they see the Fae as pests, so they either drive them off or sometimes they even kill them. Some of the Fae are actually trapped. There's one city where sprite wings are a popular decoration on clothing. If the Fae don't reproduce, how did they come to be in the first? They were created. They were created by the god, by a god. One shot. Now, could that god create more? Yes. Has that god created more? Not yet. So yeah, there's no, yeah, they're asexual essentially. So it gets rid of a whole other issue. But yeah, if a dryad dies, then that's one less dryad in the world. Period. Some of that, again, that's not every one of the Fae. Some of the really minor ones may or may not, be able to propagate, but I haven't decided on that yet. I'm tending toward all of them being essentially immortal. The other thing that happens to them is, again, over time, a number of them were twisted or turned by some of the we'll call them the evil gods, and things that were once in the good nymph category are now in the bad gremlin category. But again, that reduced the number of Fae in the world. When the Fae were first created, they were literally everywhere. All right, there were millions of them anywhere and every. You couldn't walk across a field without tripping over a pixie. But now, 20,000 years later, and after having a lot of them again twisted or turned by dark gods, and having a bunch of them killed off in the Great God War, and having more of them whittled away by human stupidity, now they're starting to get down in numbers to where there might be areas of the world where their absence is noticed. So that's my world, anyway. Kitapoi, that's the beauty of the prompts. A lot of the summer camp prompts have turned into gigantic pieces. Yeah. Again, that definitely happened for me. Now, it was early enough in the design of my world that a lot of the prompts they got me to think about things that I hadn't started thinking about yet. I did make it a conscious effort all through summer camp, though, to try to make every one of my prompts matter, not just to the world in general, but to the area that I'm focusing on. And I'd say out of the 33 prompts, I probably got about 31 of them to actually matter and help shape the stuff that I really need to have shaped now. It took a little bit of thinking for some of them, but it ended up working. And that, by the way, is the same kind of thing we hope will happen in Synergasia. So DM Stretchy, if the Fae don't reproduce, how they come to be? We answer that. So maybe if they reach critical level, their god, yes, their god could step in and create more. Again, what I'm thinking of is actually turning this into some sort of major story arc, or even a true campaign arc. They might need to be, some things done in order to convince the god to create more Fae. Alternatively, the god may give some of her priests the ability to, give some of the priests the ability to create a limited number of Fae. But if so, that would be a long, drawn-out affair, and certain things would have to happen. And again, and not the sort of things that that a human farming community would necessarily have happen in the middle of their world without wanting to know what's going on. So I haven't planned it all out in my mind yet. But the whole issue of the world running out of Fae is something that I do expect to be a driver. As a campaign level driver in my world. I haven't worked it all out yet, and I don't need to just yet. I'm still, the adventures I'm working on for my play groups now are still the super low level training adventures, shall we say. But very soon I'm going to have to start thinking about setting them off on a campaign arc. Yeah, it's like my Ice Queen. She was only a little side mission idea, but now there's 2 full articles relating to her. Yeah, I think I'm going to end up, like I said, coming back to the whole Fae issue more and more. But not today. So we don't have anybody that has an article they want to read. I was kind of hoping that I'd have some time killers there. Does anybody have any other article they would like showcased? It doesn't have to be the pollinator prompt. Anything else anybody's working on that they're proud of, or that they want a read through on, or advice on? DM will have a look. Okay. Yes, I'm procrastinating. I'm trying to not get into the grind of defining heritages for my races today. It's just but I may have no choice before the next hour is up. We'll see. So, oh, the other quick announcement again for those of you who are regulars on this stream, I am hoping sometime today to receive the case for my new computer rig. Assuming it does arrive today or tomorrow at the latest, I have arrangements with my PC building friend. This Friday it will be getting assembled. That means Friday and the rest of Friday and Saturday will be burn-in. And on Sunday, for those of you who are up at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, on Sunday, I hope to be debuting my new rig. And if I am, I will, since Sunday is my map day, I plan on exercising the hell out of it just to see what I can do and whether it will really stand up to things. Macaro, you can tell the British are jerks since they named their time zone mean. Yeah, so like I said, I plan on giving it a thorough exercise. There are a number of things that I've been waiting to start playing with until I got the new machine, and I mean not just my general mapping stuff, but anybody who has looked at an app called Flowscape, that may very well be what I'm playing with on Sunday. DM, I'm going to have to shoot off now, unfortunately. Your friend is due anytime. Oh, well, thanks for looking for an article anyway. Have a good day. I'm sure I'll see you on and off on the streams during the day. DM, have a good one. So I guess I'm going to have to get into actually some of my own real work. So here's where I am with my... what I'm in the process of doing is putting together a guide to help especially new players define a player character to play in my world. I am a firm believer that roll with an E playing is where the real fun of the game is, and roll with an L playing, I'm not going to call it a necessary evil. It's a necessary part of the game because it is, after all, a game. And there do have to be rules, and there do have to be mechanics to deal with things like combat, to know who wins and who doesn't, and to have some element of chance in it so that it is, so that there is some excitement and interest in the game. So I'm not downplaying dice rolling, but I'm not a big fan of the min-max type of player where the first thing they do is analyze every possible player creation choice to make sure that they're creating the absolute perfect best damage dealer, whatever. And if you're anybody who wants to know what I'm talking about, just go to Reddit and look up any of a number of Dungeons and Dragons Reddits or Pathfinder Reddits or any other game you want. Reddit seems to be the haven for the min-maxers. At least I seem to think that. And you'll see it everywhere else. You'll see it in videos and things too. The first thing people talk about is, let's build the ultimate druid. And they first of all, they're not even creating the ultimate first level druid. They go right to creating the ultimate 20th level druid. All right, and I get it. There's a fun in doing that. I guess there's and if that's what you do for fun in role playing, then that's fine, great. But there's a whole other aspect of role playing, and that is, again, starting out with a flawed, inexperienced, low level, never adventured before character, and letting that character's adventures build and shape them into the superstar that they will ultimately become. And that's what I'm kind of working on. So anyway, the way I'm building my player guide, starting with the first selection that you have to make when you're deciding how to build a character here. I'm basing all my rules, by the way, off Pathfinder 2. So anybody that's familiar with that system will know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons and not Pathfinder, trust me, they're not that different. The first thing you'll decide is what race you're playing. Are you a dwarf? Are you an elf? Are you a human? And what I'm trying to do is put together a guide that describes, without describing the dice numbers, what being a dwarf means. So I can actually demonstrate that. If I bring up my playing a dwarf character, I'll show you the kind of thing that I'm doing. And I'll even show you there's something I'll probably be taking off of here. Or at least making sure that it's as downplayed as possible. So I'm not going to read this whole article right now, but basically what it does is it describes, here's a general overview of what it means to be a dwarf. Here's a physical description. Again, there's no real numbers in here. It's all open-ended. Where did the dwarves come from? What do dwarves think of other dwarves? And in this case, this spends a lot of time talking about the fact that all dwarves are members of one of 12 clans. No matter where on the world they are, those 12 clans all come back. Ah, there's Kahuna, my fellow synergist. Kahuna, we spent about 45 minutes talking about Synergasia. We have at least one subscriber already, although their article was either private or draft mode, so we'll have to get that resolved. But there's also a few folks on this stream that have expressed some interest. So it looks like the idea is starting to catch on. I see you were doing a little work too, playing with some of the regions and sticking pins in the map and all that sort of thing. You're just waking up. Yeah, you did a little work before you went to bed, though. Isaac will be working on a submission sometime during the week. Yep. Oh, make that your Saturday stream. Yeah, that'd be fun. Yes, the group world, Dazzly Cat. All right, for those of you who came in late, I'm not gonna talk about it a lot now, but here's the link. All right, there's the link to the collaborative world building, and there's Danny. Look, we got a whole bunch of new people coming in. Again, follow that link, and if you read through it now and have any questions now, I'm sure either Kahuna or I will answer them in the chat. If not, if you have any further questions, catch Kahuna all day long during Kahuna Quiet. He and I'll probably be living in Kahuna Quiet for a lot of today too, by the way, Kahuna, just to help out and see what's going on, and answer any questions or that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm excited about the Synergasia project, and we'll see what happens. All right. So anyway, again, attitude toward other dwarves, attitude toward the other races that aren't dwarves. Then, what do the other races think of you? And this is it's a small section, but an important one. What do you think of the crew that you're going to get slapped together with the first day you meet them? Or, it's kind of like, I won't say it's ground rules for the introduction session, but again, it'll help new players who aren't, who haven't done this 1,000 times, navigate through that always awkward first session where six independent characters walk into the tavern and all end up sitting at the same table and end up turning into a party. There's a section on name styling, just to help guide naming, and then there's a few more in the sidebar. There are a few numbers here, but those are, again, they're not game important numbers really. Racial antagonism is just an indication. Are there is there any particular other race that your heritage or your background culture makes, has a dislike for? And with two exceptions, every race has one of these. Now, it doesn't mean hatred. You'll notice I use the word antagonism and not hatred. Think of it as wariness. Think of it as, again, just a little bit of distrust, a little concern. It's not that I'm trying to play up racial tensions in my world, but a little bit of them sometimes it can be fun and interest. Well, fun from a challenging, role playing standpoint. And again, it helps shape some of the characters, I'm very clear. There's a whole actually there's an article that precedes this one on the process in general that puts a whole sidebar discussion on what racial antagonism means and doesn't mean. Ogres are a player race in this world, so again, if one guy's playing if one player is playing an ogre and one player is playing a dwarf, and they happen to walk into the tavern and sit down at the table, they're gonna look at each other funny. All right, they're not gonna just start off by buying each other rounds of beer. So there needs to be a little play or a little work before they, really get to know each other. Now they could become fast friends over time, and should. Think Gimli and Legolas in the Lord of the Rings. All right, when they first met, they did not trust each other in the least, and they ended up being one of the most famous friendships in all of Middle Earth. All right, a quick bit on religious beliefs, a quick bit on traditions, certain taboos. I am throwing in a section on example names. I still need to do some work on this one. And then within the dwarven race, there are 7 cultures or heritages or whatever you want to call them. And then each of these is actually going to be a link then to that subculture or whatever. And it's at the subcultural level that I will describe where exactly you're likely to be living. Are there any other, cultural level traditions or adjustments to the general dwarven norm that matter? But again, I'm doing all of this in open text and not with numbers. I do have right here, this is just to keep track of it somewhere, these are the numbers that come from saying I want to play a dwarf. I'm not sure I'm going to leave them on this sheet. I might actually take them out, and this is an interesting thing, or I might just have a click here for it in here. When you're working in World Anvil, if World Anvil is the medium by which I'm delivering this information, then I get to play we get to play the Wikipedia game where I can rely on the links. All right, so somebody can start, they can read all of this, and then once they read it, they'll be able to jump down here and get to the, okay, what's the next one and what's the next one and so forth. If they find the one they decide on, though, they can use it as a landing page and then jump off into, okay, if I want to be a dwarf, now let me start building my character sheet. What are the numbers I need? But I also do envision dwarf. All right, that used to be a bartender and is now a fighter. Then I don't want you to have to go to 4 different places to find out all of that different stuff. I'd like there to be one landing page. Okay, I see. I had one Twitch. Twitch disconnected. Actually, OBS actually told me it disconnected and reconnected. So those are usually Twitch doing that and not my machine. Because actually my machine says I've been live and haven't dropped a single frame. So That was OBS getting cut off somewhere. It could be my ISP too. That, by the way, is the other thing I'm changing. Besides changing computers, I am changing service providers to one that is not only more reliable, but is also somewhere between 4 and 10 times faster service than I have now. So hopefully that will take care of the 12 to 20 second lags that I have on Twitch, but we'll see. So anyway, that's how I'm trying to build all of this stuff. Again, I'm trying to keep the narrative descriptive aspects of who and what you are separate from the data aspects of what goes on your character sheet. And in doing that, I'm hoping to encourage players, and again, especially players new to role-playing, to first of all be willing to have certain flaws or gaps in their character. They're more fun. Characters with flaws are more interesting in parties, because now they have weaknesses that they need others to help fill, or to help cover for. That's where your best party interactions come from. So yes, Twitch. All right, so I mean, the overall style of what's here, the kind of information, this actually is stuff that the Pathfinder 2 guide talks about, but I go into it a little more. I kind of expanded on a few of them a little more and added a few sections. And I have to do one of these just in case anybody's interested in what I have in for me. When I first started this project, there were only 6 races, and the Pathfinder 2 core rulebook comes with 6 races and no more than 5 heritages for each race. So I was looking at 30 cultures, let's say, and actually it was it was 1 or 2 fewer than that, because humans I think only had 4. But of course I'm ambitious, so let me show you real quick what I actually have chosen to put upon myself. If this is ever going to pop up. There we go. Not responding. There we go. Okay. And we'll start. Come back. Boy, that's not happy, is it? Let's try clicking it once and see what happens. That's better. So I did put together this bit of a spreadsheet just to give me an idea, and I'll resize this in a second so that we can see a bit more of it. Alright, so anyway, the core rulebook had 6, but they've just released an advanced player guide that introduced a few more races. So, I have to deal with those. So here are the races that are options now. All right, we have catfolk, we have dwarves, we have elves, we have gnomes, goblins, halflings, humans, kobolds, lizard folk, ogres, orcs, rat folk, and tengu. And then each of those has a bunch of heritages to choose from. So this spreadsheet just gives me an idea of what the book says. Now, what I'm trying to do again is I'm trying to fit, I'm trying to keep to the rules as closely as possible, so that if somebody wants to play pure vanilla PF2 in my world of Cartyrion, they can do that. But if they want to use the additional Cartyrion information that I will make available, then they can do that too. So the first thing I'm doing is, first of all, I'm renaming to make them appropriate to my world, the various heritages. So the book has, for example, something. We'll start with the dwarves. The book has something called Forge Dwarves. that get fire resistant. They're the ones who work the forges and all that kind of good stuff. I'm not calling them forge dwarfs. I'm calling them craft masters, and actually, giving them, again, they're the ones that, you know, at least by heritage, they're the ones that make stuff. I've also added a few though that didn't exist before. So you'll notice, like down here again, and anybody who did a lot of summer camp article watching might be familiar with my seafarer dwarves. There is nothing in the core rulebook about seafarer dwarves, or about any kind of dwarf that would ever dip more than a toe in an ocean. But I'm going to create a whole subculture for them. I'm also creating a whole subculture for dwarves who aren't particularly happy living under the mountains. Aren't exactly ready to go to sea, but they're more than happy to live above ground and in human cities, and maybe even other places, and places that you wouldn't normally find dwarves. All right, because I kind of want them to be everywhere. The same kind of thing for elves. Again, each of the different races are there now. The new ones, there were four or five examples for each of them in the new book. I'm probably not going to expand on those, because I'm also probably going to keep these as let's call it optional or limited, and kind of leave it up to the DM to decide if he wants to make them available or not. They will exist. There'll certainly be NPCs somewhere along the way in campaigns, and if anybody, if a DM wants to let a player character exist in them, everything they'll need to know will be here. But it'll be up to them. Now, the other thing they did, all right, so they created catfolk, and again, you'll see there's a few others down here that are new. I am turning lizard folk and ogre from creatures into player characters, which is why you'll notice there's nothing in the books about their heritages. And the main reason I'm doing that is to have antagonistic races for a few of the other races, and to be interesting. Now these are going to be ogre especially is going to be challenging, because it still needs to be a weak enough character that that it's not overpowered, that I don't end up with everybody saying, okay, if I want to play a fighter, I need to be an ogre, and have so there need to be penalties, and bonuses, and it all needs to balance out. So it'll be an interesting challenge to get that all done. The other thing they added in the new book, though, that I have to play with are these 5 special, we'll call them special heritages, and they have nothing to do with the race or culture that the player chooses, but they have something to do with something strange or odd that happened to them in their past, or in their family's past. And I'll start with the one on the bottom that's everybody's favorite, the tiefling. All right. The tiefling isn't a separate race in this game. Tieflings are what happens if your mom or dad gets it on with a demon. Alright, if your mom and dad gets it on with a demon, you are a tiefling. Alright, your mom or dad could have been a dwarf, or an elf, or a halfling, or a gnome. And if that's the case, then you will be a gnome. You will be from one of these normal cultures, or there's the gnome cultures. But on top of that, you will have whatever the tiefling attributes give you. The thing I need to work on with this, and I need to do a little more work than they did in the book, because admittedly, Paizo put these things all in because everybody that played D&D was clamoring for them, because D&D has them. All right, so they were basically just giving the market what it wanted. Some of them, what I need to do is make sure that anybody who takes one of these options is not only taking some benefit, but is also taking some penalty. And because otherwise, again, the min-max thing starts coming in, and if you can only ever get a benefit from doing something, then why wouldn't you always do it? All right, I want there to be a difficult choice involved. The changeling came with a very interesting, obvious automatic choice. First of all, if somebody wants to play a changeling, first of all, automatically they have better vision than they had. And in fact, every one of these has better vision than they had. And anybody that ever goes cave diving knows that dark vision is an important thing to have. So a changeling human all of a sudden will at least have low light vision, if not dark vision. So they might want to take it just for that. But if you're a changeling, that means one of your parents was a hag, and you were probably, in fact, your mother was probably a hag, and you were probably swapped in for some other kid or something like that. But as a changeling, you are subject to the call. What the call is at some point in your life, your parent hag will issue a magical summons to you to drag you back to her, where she will complete your transition to full hagdom. So anybody who picks a changeling is picking the possibility of the DM. I won't say just killing off the character, but there would probably be, I'm sure there would be an adventure around it. But there would become the real possibility of either losing the character to hagdom, or probably, if that were to be somehow swayed, those abilities would go away. Yeah, it's a ticking time bomb DNA, exactly. Some of the other ones are obvious. The other one isn't it. This is an interesting one. This one, the Dampier, one of your parents was a vampire. You're not quite undead, and you're not quite living. Again, you get the benefit of the better vision, but the downside on this one is anything that your party cleric would normally do to heal you actually harms you. They actually have to do harm. Yeah, it's a daywalker. I guess would be another name for it. But again, you don't work the same. So, if your cleric is used to doing, okay, everybody gather around, I'm going to do a big group heal, you need to run away because it's going to hurt you. So this one has an obvious penalty. Some of these other ones don't have obvious penalties, and I need to figure out those obvious penalties before I introduce them. The Asimir is a classic example. This one is Mom or Dad was an angel. I mean, in my world, it'll be Mom or Dad was one of the not quite deity level super beings, because again, the super beings are whole races, so there are varying degrees of power of them. But I need to come up with a penalty. Again, why would somebody not want to do this? So I have to think about that one. Duskwalker is a weird one. Duskwalker, these are people that whoever the gods of the dead are, they decided, and they only do this rarely, but they decided that it really wasn't your turn yet, or you weren't ready yet, so they send you back. The gods of death send you back. Again, I have to figure out something specific to make them, to make this a less attractive choice. Because as it is now, you get better vision and you're completely immune from undead, so you don't have to worry about getting bit by ghouls or goblin or zombies or vampires even. You'd be the perfect undead hunter, but again, there needs to be a downside. And tiefling, right now, the only downside is you get the horns or the tail. All right, so you look a little scary. All right, so I need to work on that one as well. Once I do that, though, I will probably be introducing some or all of these. Again, once I'm satisfied that there is some balance in choosing them, and that they don't just become automatic. Okay, now which of the 5 specials do you want to add to your character? And Dazzlecat says, Asimir, your celestial parent is calling you back. Yeah, I mean that might be. So they might have the same kind of problem that the Changeling has. The same thing. I could do the same thing even for the Duskwalker. At any point in the future, the gods that put you back might decide, okay, now it's your time. Come. Or you've served your purpose. Come. I have to think about them to make them a little more interesting and a little more again balanced. So that I don't want to make them too unappealing either. But these are the challenges of designing role-playing game rules. Balance is of absolute importance, and that's true, by the way, with all of these other things. A lot of them get certain things. I mean, again, the Forge Dwarf gets some limited fire resistance. But okay, that's cool, but I can deal with that as a DM. If they start abusing it, then they're going to start getting a lot of cold attacks. Some of these other ones, it's just knowledge knowledge that they gain. But again, that gives the DM opportunities to, come up with things that make it important that they have one, that one of these exists in a party. And hopefully the party will be spread out among a bunch of these different things. The humans, I'm going to do something interesting. The pioneer human, especially. Humans, the way they are right now in the game, do not have any notable attribute flaws. They start off with average numbers across the board, and then as a player character, I mean, admittedly, player characters are better than average, but they start out with average in every stat, and then they only go up. So I'm creating a human option that'll actually give you the ability to be a little better somewhere in exchange for actually having a flaw. We'll see how many people take me up on it. So it puts humans on an even more balanced footing with everybody else. Dazzlecat asks, what about half dragons? I'm not going with the D&D Dragonborn yet. The Kobold race, though, technically are draconic. So if you want if you want dragon in your blood, you might be playing a kobold. There's already enough other things for dragon related, again, that are baked into the Pathfinder 2 rules. There is a draconic instinct for barbarians that over time, as they level up, means that they suddenly can start sprouting dragon claws, and then they can start breathing dragon fire, and then they can start sprouting dragon wings as they go into their barbarian rage. So that's there. Sorcerers also can have draconic bloodlines. So I don't need a dragonborn race to introduce that aspect. There are at least two player classes that already kind of have dragon in them. Now that's not everybody, admittedly, but it's enough to satisfy people, I guess. If you really want to end up with a character that can fly, then you're going to take a barbarian or a sorcerer. So they're there, but the kobolds are there. The other thing I will point out, the Tengu are here too, and they are a bird-related species. None of these character races can fly. At least not without some special feats or magic or whatever that they gain as they level up. But as a race, all of these are ground-based races. All of these are humanoid. They have arms. They have hands. Those hands can manipulate things. So from that standpoint, all of the races and all of the heritages are on an even keel. Now some of them, like the sea elves, might be able to hold their breath a lot longer, but they don't breathe water. So none of these choices give a ridiculous benefit or advantage, and it's particularly not a ridiculous benefit or advantage that would be a pain in the neck to a DM. We've had this discussion has happened a few times on streams in the last week or couple of weeks. Giving flight to one or more characters in a party, from the DM standpoint, giving a flight ability to a party is a almost an era-changing event, because now things that you used to do as obstacles or challenges to a party cease to be challenges or obstacles. You're walking through the forest and you come to a river. The river is very, very, it's moving rapidly. It's swollen from recent rains or from the spring thaw, and it looks like it will be extremely difficult to cross. What do you do? Oh, I grab one end of a rope and I fly across to the other side, and we all use the rope to cross. End of challenge. You come to the city. You come to the city gate. It's past dark. The gates are closed, and you need to get in. But the guards say, come back in the morning when the gates are open. What do you do? Oh, I fly over the wall. All right, you get the point. So, at some point, characters will gain access to flight. Sooner or later, one of the magic users learns the fly spell, or they come up, they get some, either a ring or a flying carpet or something, but not right away. It becomes a major, like I said, it becomes an era changer, and it should be an era changer, not only for the DM but for the players as well. Oh, cool! We can do this now. Now we can go places we couldn't go before. All right, it becomes something for the players to look forward to. All right, giving it to one character at the beginning, and not the others is just, it just doesn't work in the long run. So that's, that is what it is. So look at this. I'm going to get through this whole stream without having to type a single thing. But that's okay. I don't mind explaining. I enjoy explaining what I'm doing and what I'm getting at. So anyway, sooner or later, every one of these rows in this spreadsheet needs to be an article in World Anvil, and we'll have a character sheet, a stat sheet associated with it. So I have a lot of work to do, admittedly. Although these aren't going to be huge articles. They're not going to be as big as the what it means to be a dwarf article, because these are really going to just focus on. So, for example, the ancient blooded dwarf, is going to talk about the fact that your people probably stayed in the mountains. Stayed in the mountain. It might have even stayed in the mountain under, under which the first dwarves were awakened. And just spend a little bit of time talking about that and what that means to your attitude. Again, any attitude adjustments that your heritage brings. So that's basically what all of these different ones are going to be. The Wanderer is going to say, a long time ago, your people, decided, that life under the mountain wasn't all there was, so they wanted to get out and see the rest of the world, and they've been scattering and traveling ever since. So these aren't going to be huge, but each one of them does need to exist. So you'll see, people were asking. You were asking about kobolds. So what is a kobold? What What do the kobold groups get? So let's see. This one they can't fly, but they can climb. Oh, by the way, the Tengu were the other interesting one. That's the other one. Everybody, somebody was, I think it was Sable was even asking, well, if you can't fly, why do you want to be a bird species? One of these, the Mountain Keeper. No, not the Mountain Keeper. Which one is it? The Skyborn. Will live at the tops. Will live at the tops of mountains. And although they can't fly, you'll notice they essentially do have what we all call feather fall. They can't glide, but they fall very slowly. So they can't be hurt from falling damage, which is a major, which is a major feature, but it doesn't let them control their descent. So they can't. It's not like I jump off a tree and glide across the town wall or the city wall. They can jump off the tree and they'll fall, but they won't hurt themselves when they fall, which is something. I mean, they can be the one to climb out across the ledge with the rope, knowing that if they slip and fall or if the ledge collapses, at least they'll be okay at the bottom. But it's not flight. But they do have sharp claws, and one of them has a really, really nasty beak. Which one? Oh, by the way, this one is an interesting one, the Jinxed one. That's it. This one is whenever they're around, if something, they have an opportunity to help avoid nasty random outcome, for them and their friends. But there needs to be a downside to this too. I need to work on this one a little bit. What else is good? I have the Talon one. There was a beaked one here too. What happened to that? I thought there was a beaked one. I might be missing one of these. I'll have to look. So anyway, that's the long-term work that I have cut out for me. If they're feather fallen, they can't swim. No, they probably can still. Well, they'll have the same swimming ability that any other character or race had. Which may not be particularly good, but at least it'll get them to shore. So what else is what are people doing today? What are people's plans today? Anybody? How many people are actually back in the real world writing or working now? I am writing next stage of Family D&D adventure. That's right. That's right, Das. You do the Family D&D. That's actually another thing I need to get going on this week. I need to start on my third adventure arc. I have a group. Not this week. I think I have 10 days to get something down on paper for to start their next adventure arc. So much to do. So little time. It's fun. I enjoy it. So like I said, I know what I'm going to be doing. I'll be doing a bunch more of the Synergasia issues. Let me jump back over to that just to bring it up because I can tell the mood that I'm in. I'm not going to get a lot of writing done this morning, and I've only got 15 minutes to go. So let's bring this back up so that it's available to talk about. Kahuna, before I forget, the guardrails article is still password protected as of this morning. So the people that were in the chat, I just gave them the password, but you might want to get rid of that. I know I can't edit your articles, so I can't alter your articles, I should say. So let's view the world of Synergasia. Dazzlecat, yeah. Is there an inland sea or shallow with some islands? Dazzlecat, what do you have in mind? Because there are some... We definitely have some regions, as you can see. There's one, for example, that has a bunch of islands. There's another one with that includes a few islands. Again, these aren't etched in stone, and if we need to add a few more islands somewhere, we can do that. You want to do undersea? Okay. We can do that too. We can create an area. By the way, Kahuna, somebody else asked, what about outside the material plane? I don't know. I mean, we can do whatever we want. I'm not sure how that fits with the rest of the world, though. But we could provide space for it if that's what somebody wants to do. I'm starting to slow down again. That's the other thing, by the way. It's not just not wanting to get some writing done. I'm trying my best to limp my way through these last couple of streams without major catastrophic technical failure. And it's this one and Thursday, and hopefully that's it. Like I said, hopefully on Sunday I will be playing with my brandy new machine and giving it all of the fun and love and exercise that it needs. Let's see if we got any other new ones. Let's see if he had a chance to fix this. Yes, you can. Okay, that one's still multipassing. If you type !sin into the chat, you'll get the link to the world. I am starting to see a little bit of slowdown, so I'll get to it myself in a second. But !sin will do it. There we go. Again. Oh, by the way, yeah, Kahuna, somebody else pointed out that you are apparently Sage level, and they suggested that you alter the world name, or at least the URL, to drop your name from it, so that it looks a little more collaborative. So I'll leave that decision up to you. That the suggestion was, of course, better to do it sooner rather than later, because other people, once more people have the link, changing the URL would break the link. But it'd be easy to fix now because it's really just a handful of people, and we could advertise it off. Advertise the correction very quickly. Which one is still locked? I think you still have the cannon locked, but that's okay. That one can stay locked for now. We both agreed there's nothing really in there yet. Everybody else, though, you should be able to get to guardrails without needing to enter a password now. If anybody wants to check that. I'll get with Captain Fry on that. But is that the undersea region or the URL thing? So I mean, again, like I said, that's if you think that's a good idea, I to be honest, I think it might be a good idea just to so that it doesn't so that people don't think they're building in somebody else's world. If it wants to be there, it's everyone's world. So if you have the ability to take the author tag off the URL, then maybe it's something we want to do. I know I'm only Grandmaster, I couldn't do that, but okay. Yeah, I'm gonna send after this session. I'm gonna DM Rabid Candy Void, just in case he doesn't see that I commented here. But again, his article right now is either not public or not draft, or not published, I should say. But it was 8 a.m. this morning, and that's 8 a.m. Greenwich Mean. So, we had our first taker. Or we have our first taker. Be curious to see what he wants. Yes. Yeah. You create the article in your world, and then you come here to this article. This is the article called "We Need You." Put a comment on. Enter a comment on the article, and in that comment, include the URL. Just like you would put a URL in a chat stream for us to showcase, put the URL in the comment article, in the article comment, and that way we have in one place all of the people who are interested. Once the way it's going to work, once you've expressed interest, you will be made an author in the Synergasia world, so that once we start doing the real prompts, you will actually create articles in Synergasia, and there will be articles that you will have access to. You'll be able to read and view everyone else's articles. I don't think author gives you the ability to modify other people's articles, but you can see them all. So so that's how that's going to work. All right, we're just using this included in the comment thing as a way to get people involved, to get people in, because we don't know who to include until we see the interest. So that's the plan. And as I said again, for those who came late, there's a limit of 25 people per world. If we get more takers than that, then there will be 2 or more parallel Synergasias, and we'll handle it that way. So nobody's going to get left out. We'll hopefully it won't be a stupid large number of people that we have to manage, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it too. The synergists might have to grow in number. We'll see. Request place for the URL. Excellent. So that'll take care of that. So who's up on the streams after me today? Let's see. Kahuna Quiet is up. Okay. CD Toblin is up. I'll probably, at the moment, it looks like I'd be jumping to Toblin. I don't know if Hefe is Hefe due for today? Oh, but this is Tuesday. Thursday is Hefe Day. Tuesday is Toblin Day. So we will be raiding Toblin in a few minutes. Makara, wish he didn't miss 20 minutes due to an urgent production problem. Actually, don't worry about it, Makara. What you missed was 20 minutes of me procrastinating and managing to not type a single word in this entire 2-hour stream. I spent some time talking about how things work, how character creation and how the different races and heritages and cultures work in my world. But I didn't actually write anything. But that's okay. We're talking again about Synergasia right now. So again, if anybody has any questions, now is a good time. I can answer verbally, and Kahuna is here to also answer. Again, welcome one and all. We have a whole map here that needs filling. and there might be more. I think we just created another extra undersea region somewhere. So there are more regions here, by the way, than there will be authors. All right, and that's okay too. I mean, it gives us a little, it gives us a little leeway or freedom to decide. Let me put the map lines up. It'll give us the ability to make sure that everybody gets placed where they want to get placed or need to get placed. So that's going to be an interesting logistics exercise for Kahuna and myself. Once we start to see the big question is what do the genre splits look like? If we have 27 people doing Euro, middle-aged Euro fantasy, then do we just put them all together on one continent, or do we want to spread some of them out? It might depend on some of the other subtext in the things. Maybe there's a lighthearted, positive one, and another, dark, nasty one that we want to separate. Again, we do want to make sure that anybody that has, that we do not end up with something like, Conan Bronze Age, adjacent to Jetsons, Jetsons modern or futuristic. Herding cats gently, yes. Dazzler Cat needs one volcano on an island right on the or right on the coast. Well, funny you should say that. Here are the tectonic lines that show where they they don't run through. Oh no, you do have some tectonics running through the oceans as well. So they're there. So we have ready-made places to put volcanoes if we need them. Yeah, like I said, I see you started to put together some of these, some of the biome descriptions. And some of these cover a lot of ground. You're right. This one, almost subarctic, Arctic down to desert. And now some of these might not be desert, by the way. We'll have to think about that. Some of them might turn into jungle. This is a good example. I think there's a mountain range running down the middle here. So we could very well have jungle. This little band might be jungle here but desert here, or jungle here but desert there. Using the mountain as a as a climate break. So we have a lot of freedom, in final adjustments on these things. All we know is that the around the equator will be hot. We could even have temperate deserts. I mean, if Sable wants to bring the weird west, for example, we could definitely put a Badlands area in the middle of a continent like this one. I'm not saying that that will be, but these are the choices that's the world building aspect that Kahuna and I have in front of us is figuring out where to put everybody. And then dealing with again adjudicating what we I think what we plan on doing, like as we ask for articles. If we asked for an article, for example, on what are the major natural resources of your region, and in that article you mention the name of a city that's on the coast that that raw materials are brought to the city and then they're shipped off to wherever. You don't necessarily have to know where whatever what to call whatever, but what we would gather out of that to add to the canon lore is that you have a city named such and such and it's on the coast and it trades in such and such. That gives somebody else who might be in the adjacent region or in a region across the sea that's within your same time era, the ability to say, they get their iron from the region of so and so, and by ship without them having to worry about it. So there's that's the world building task that Kahuna and I are taking on is some of the integration without impact on the individual areas. We're never going to come to you and tell you you can't do this in your world because somebody did this next door. All right, that won't happen. What we will say though is, by the way, this is what's happening next door. If you can use that, go right ahead. That's the again the synergy approach that we're trying to take here. All right, so yeah, all right, Dazzlecat, yeah, get done soon. Yeah, like I said, we're giving everybody at least 2 weeks. There's no super rush. I'm sure we'll have a few other things to keep us busy and happy during the day. And look at that, it is a few minutes after 12, so it is time to leave. I would like to thank everybody for listening to me rant and ramble for a couple of hours. I hope everybody joins us in Synergasia. And in the meantime, let us raid. It's CD10 Toblin or Toblin CD10. Which one is it? CD10 Toblin. Thank you all for coming. And again, if you have any other questions during the day, stop by Kahuna Quiet. And one or the other of us will be happy to answer them. Enjoy your days, folks. Let me get the raid command in. 9 seconds. 8, 7, 6. And have a good one.